Very dope. So take us to that meeting with baby Chris. What were the details to that contract? Tell us all the goods.
Well, Chris was like, Chris at the time was, when we was there was Cormega there, Foxy Brown. Warren G had just destroyed and sold 5 million copies or something. So, he was the figurehead there, that's because that's what they want, sales, right? So basically Chris, he had us as like his, he had us in a special place, you know what I mean? And he wanted us to do well. Thing about Chris, just not to go off, but the thing about Chris is he doesn't really go to the studio a lot, you know what I mean? Unless you're like, if you LL and stuff like that. Because, Chris, that was his label side. I think we should also point out that he had a managerial side of Violator. Then he had all these artists, these LLs, Missy Elliott's, Mobb Deep's, the 50 Cent, the list goes on and on. But from what I was told, he didn't really, go unless it was those big time guys. So one time we was in the studio and he came. He didn't tell us he was coming. And we was like, oh, yo, he showed up. And he sat there and was chilling with us and was like, yo, let me hear something. So the record we played him was recognized with Black Rob. So, rest in peace, Black Rob, too. It's my guy. So, he went crazy, of course. That was a hot record. Rob killed that, too. I was so happy with Rob because he really, that was one of his better verses, you know what I mean? And he got a lot of them. But he really ran through that one.
Right.
But, so he came through, and we were real touched by that. Like, oh, man, Chris came, hung out with us. We played him something. He liked it. So he was a little more with us. Because we were new. Like, what are you coming by to see us for? He busy. You got all these other iconic artists. You making time for us. We took that into consideration. You know what I mean? So, Chris, I got good memories of Chris. When you bring up his name, I'm sorry. Like, I go through, these memories and stuff because he's not here.
It's all good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good to talk about him because I really don't get to talk about him much.
Right. You spoke a little bit about Black Rob. You guys got with him before he eventually took off. What did you see early in the Black Rob that made you guys want to involve him with your project?
Oh, Rob was just dead nice with the lyrics. Rob was nasty. And locally, everybody knew it. In Harlem and the Bronx, everybody knew it. Because Rob was from Jefferson Projects in Harlem, but he was like a Harlem Bronx cat, too, because he lived in the Bronx a lot, too. Rob would stay in the Bronx a lot. River Park Towers, we went up there one time, and we did a cypher up there in the towers and stuff. But we saw that Rob was super lyrical. Rob also would have his little run-ins with the law. So, like all of us, you know what I mean? From that place, which products of our environment, run-ins with the law. So, at the time, Rob was incarcerated. And we told him, though, we're going to wait for you. You know what I mean? We knew he wasn't going to be there too long. So we were going to wait for him. So we told him, and we waited. As we did the album, we saved those 2 slots for him. Nothing But and Recognize. And the minute he came home, he came to the studio, smashed both of them, like we knew. Because like I said, the thing that attracted us to Rob was that he was just super lyrical. He was just dope. You know what I mean? He was a dope MC. And everybody knew it locally, but he needed to be known on a global scale. He was just that dope. So he came through, knocked it out, and the rest was history. From there, he just took off.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you guys got signed in '95, and the album dropped 2 years later. Does that sound about right?
Yes, that's about right. Yeah.
And then you guys got on Changing Faces remix.
That was the first one that we got on, but Yo was the one rhyming on that. But that was the first one where you even heard anything about CRU. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's this? You know what I'm saying? Right. We did that. We did another joint with this guy named Ivory. He had a hot R&B joint out, you know what I mean? And me and Yo ran up on that too as well. Besides after the Changing Faces joint. Changing Faces was first.
Was that just to get your name out there more? What was the
Yeah, it's kind of like to get your feet wet too, because see, there was a connection though. We were managed by Bar Storm Entertainment, Mark Pitts. And Changing Faces was also with Mark Pitts. So that was the connection, you know what I mean? We met them, they was cool and all of that. We was cool, everybody was cool. So, so why not?
Right. Take us back to your debut album. You're a young guy. This is your debut album. What is your thought process and what are the conversations like as far as the direction that you guys wanted this album to go?
Well, to be honest, we would always have clashes, you know, because we wanted to do our own thing. We really didn't want to do the cookie cutter thing. Oh, we need a single, or we need a chorus, preferably, you know, sung by someone. And, you know, we was fighting. Oh, man, we used to be up there fighting all the time. Because we just wanted to do hip-hop, creative, dope hip-hop. But at that time, it was a little shaky because people started, you know, it started changing. You know, then came the Puffs and all of that, you know, and they started using these old disco records and singing these choruses and things, you know, we didn't want none of that. We never, ever wanted that. So there was a lot of clashing going on. Our direction was we wanted a creative album, the Dirty 30, 30 tracks. We wanted it to be something that people would listen to now and 50 years later and say, you know what, this is dope, throw that on. You know what I mean? Because music can get dated, but we wanted ours to be timeless. That's all we wanted was timeless music. And we would push against them because we didn't feel they had the right idea. So we would go in the studio, do our own things. We had a lot of fights with records. Some records didn't even make the album and, you know, all that stuff that most people go through. You know what I mean? But our vision was, you know, we wanted it to be hip-hop, but timeless, where you can listen to it now in the 90s and you can listen to it 50 years later and get that same feeling.
Right. Is this disagreements between you and Yogi as far as the music or the execs?
No. At the time, no. It was disagreements between us and, you know, the label guys and stuff like that. You know, that type of disagreement. And I'll be honest, it was really Def Jam that we had the disagreements with, because they had their own idea, and hey, they're relevant. They're successful. You know what I mean? You can't say they're not. They're very successful. So, you know, you're pushing against a giant right now who has shown success. But I'm from the hood. I am hip hop. You know what I mean? So I know what hip hop is. But they want sales. They don't really care about the hip hop aspect too much. They just want bomb sales. We didn't really care too much about that. We wanted that. Everybody wants that. You want to be successful, but that wasn't the main goal. The main goal was to create a classic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You guys released Just Another Case as your first single. What kind of buzz did you get from that?
Just Another Case. That was wild. I'll tell you something about Just Another Case. We did the record, right? And we did the record without Slick Rick. Just me and Yo did it. I remember Yo playing me the beat over the phone. And then we got together later, and I told him, yo, throw that beat on in the car. And I remember, I just knew when I heard the track, the beat, how he flipped it, I said, yo, this one here is going to be it. We got to do this right. So, you know, I like to write stories, you know what I mean? Like in my raps, I like story raps too. You know, I like that a lot. So I said, we got to write a story joint off of this, you know what I mean? So we came to the agreement that we were going to do a story joint and, you know, kind of dialogue story joint where we, you know, talk with each other and going back and forth, as you can see in the record, kind of one line here, two lines there, you know, and tell the story along, you know, along the Slick Rick path. That kind of came up because remember Rick used to do those stories.
Absolutely.
And so we were like, yeah, let's go along those lines. And then it evolves into, this ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. Just another case about the wrong path. That's Rick. You know what I mean? So, you know, all of this just started coming. It just organically came together. It wasn't like we planned it. Oh, let's do that and let's use Rick's. No, it just happened. You know what I mean? And then what happens? Chris is like, yo, let's get Rick on the record. Why not get Slick Rick on the record? And we're like, that's on you. You make that happen. We can't make that happen. You know what I'm saying? So we was able to get Rick on the record. You know what I mean? And it just, you know, it was a smasher. You know, it was dope. It's dope.
How much of the album was done when the single hit the streets?
You know what? A lot of it was done because I'll be honest with you. A lot of the demos we did made the album. Matter of fact, most of the demos, if not all, made the album. I think one didn't. One didn't. Yeah, we did a joint called Rhythm Blunts where it was like a bunch of other people's beats. We mashed it up, you know, one after another, and we rhymed over it. And that was another story, you know, that, you know, I kind of have a confrontation with Yogi in that record. And, yo, who be Yogi? I'm asking, you know, and then it goes on from there. And he's like, who want to know? And I'm like, yo, I roll with crew, kid. I be Chadio. And what you want? You know, we just, you know, in rhyme form, like, yo, what you want? And we use other people's beats like that were out at the time that were just hot, you know, but we couldn't put that on the album because you got to clear all them beats. You know what I mean? You can't do that. So we put it white, you know, and put it out there as a white label. If anybody got that, that's rare to have.
So, besides some disagreements with the execs up at Def Jam, what was those recording sessions like making that album?
Oh man, those were dope. You know why? Because we didn't go to the big time studios to record. We had a studio called Animation Sound in downtown Manhattan on John Street, and it was in a building, and it was in an apartment. But this individual, man, I never forget him, man. His name was Taj Shiddu. This dude was dope, man. As far as engineering, his ear, but also when you asked for something a little outlandish, yo, I need, you know, this in the background, and that, he always came through. There was never, yo, I don't have that, I can't do that. This dude, like, working with him was like our hand, you know, fitting in a glove. You know what I mean? He got it. When we came in there and doing, sometimes we did some off the wall stuff. He got it though. He always got it. He was right there with us. So we did it at this small studio that was in an apartment in downtown Manhattan. Then, you know, of course, we had to transfer it to the big studios for the mixing and mastering, you know, the final mixes and the final, you know, the mastering and stuff like that.
Right. Can you take us back to Live at the Tunnel with the Locks?
Oh, yeah. The Locks, those are my guys. You know, we met the Locks before any signing to labels. Like, they wasn't signed. You know, they was getting out of that Warlocks name. You know, they used to be called the Warlocks and all that. So it was during that era, you know what I mean? They came to my block one time. This dude from my block, he was like road manager for them, and he was affiliated with Rough Riders, put it that way. So they would come to my block, you know, he bought D to my block, the owner of Rough Riders, and one day he bought the Locks, and he I'm gonna tell you, check this out. He rings the bell, right, to my house. So I'm like, yo, who? And he's like, yo, C, come down. So I knew who it was. He's the only one that called me C. So I'm like, all right. So I come down, and I see these 3 dudes standing there, and there's a truck there, and D had the back of the truck open, and Beats was playing loud. All right. So I'm like, what's up? And they're like, yo, this is my man Jada. This is my man Sheik. This is my man Styles, whatever, right? I'm like, yo, what's up? So, you know, we like in a semicircle, cypherist type of conditions. So we talking whatever the beats is on, you know. My man go, yo, C, drop something. They want to hear something. So, you know, I go in and I'm rhyming, boom, boom. All right. So then Sheik goes, boom. I'm like, ooh. So then Styles goes, boom. I'm like, oh, damn. Then Jada goes, boom. I'm like, yo, god damn. I'm like, yo, what's going on here, man? All 3 of them was official fire, as you know what I mean, as everybody knows. I was like, yo, it's very rare you get a group where every single guy, the whole trio is super lyrical, you know what I mean? So I fell in love with them from the beginning. We became peoples. We was hanging out, you know, in clubs, and, you know, we was peoples before all this music stuff. And then they went to Bad Boy, we went to Violate, Def Jam, and the rest is history. Just like DMX, that's how I met X too. You know, X used to come around the way, and we used to hang out or whatever. Then they had a tattoo shop. My man from my building, he owned a tattoo shop, you know, in the Bronx, a few blocks up. And they used to be the meeting ground. We would meet there, and I'd be chilling with X there. Then we'll break out. And I remember us chilling with X too during the crew thing, like out of town. We'll meet up in like Baltimore, Virginia, whatever. He'd jump on stage. We just throw him up there. You know, this was during the Get At Me Dog phase, like a little bit, you know, a little bit that it had just come. Like he wasn't known yet. But what I knew is sometimes we would do a show, like wherever, Virginia, Maryland, whatever, and we would throw him up there. Yo, X, go ahead, get busy. You know, give him the mic. Let him rock. Man, every time he jumped on that stage, it was electric. Everybody went crazy. Like he had that it, you know what I mean? It didn't matter he didn't have an album out or he wasn't known like that. He had it.
Right.
Yeah. Good times, man. Good times.
No doubt. Can you take us back to that session with the Locks? Any gems that you can drop?
Yo, hold up, man. Hold up, Sin-seer. Yo, I'm mad about that session, bro.
Let us know.
I'm super mad about that session. You want to know why? I wasn't there for that. Yo went in there. So I don't know what happened. Harlem, they was there. They all did their lyrics. And, you know, I had to go and do it later. You know what I mean? On a separate occasion. Man, I don't know. I don't recall, though. It could have been my fault. I don't want to. Let me backtrack here. I disappear, do my own thing, too. You know what I mean? So let me not blame anybody else right now because I don't remember. But I do remember not being there for that session, man. And I regret that. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
But I'm sure it was electric. Come on. You know what I mean? But I was in a lot of sessions with them, like in their own sessions. I would be there, sometimes. I remember walking in a session and they was getting busy and Jay-Z was sitting in the back and, there'd be a lot of people there, So I would stay for a little while, but I'm not that type of dude to be around a lot of people that I'm not, really affiliated with like that. So I come to see them, get them love, and I'm out.
Right. What was the concept behind the name The Dirty 30?
Well, at the time when we was, when we was coming out, before we came out, actually, there was like this corruption, this scandal in New York in the 30th precinct. It was a big time scandal, man. I remember it being all over the news every day, all day. These cops were corrupt and they were doing whatever they were doing. You could look it up. I don't remember exactly, but it was the 30th precinct over in Harlem. And it was really a play off that name. We wanted to do 30 tracks, right? So that was going on. It was like they named the precinct the Dirty 30. That's what they called the precinct during the scandal. So we snatched it. You know what? This is going to be a Dirty 30 right here on the low. We're going to have these grimy 30 hip hop tracks, so we thought. So we took the name, the Dirty 30.
Right. That album dropped the summer of '97. What do you remember most about that time, and what kind of reviews and from the general public were you hearing?
Well, from the people in the streets, we was getting a lot of love. You know what I mean? We was getting a lot of love. And I remember us traveling a lot, doing shows. Doing a lot of, we was doing a lot of college shows too. Going to universities, and they would have these shows out in the lawn, the big lawns. We was doing those. But the biggest show we did Smoking Grooves, the Smoking Grooves tour.
What year was that?
That was '97, the one with Erykah Badu.
Tribe Called Quest?
Tribe, I don't know if Tribe was.
Maybe they were 98, 96.
No, it was George Clinton, Cypress Hill, Erykah Badu, I think Foxy Brown. I believe Outkast was on there. No, The Roots was on there. The Roots. I can look back and I can let you know everybody that was on. But that gives you a picture of who was there. And we were the opening act, which we was happy because that was an experience that I'll never forget. You know what I mean? That was huge.
Right.
So we did that. And then we did, like I told you, the college shows. We did a lot of radio. I remember doing a lot of radio, going to every state. And I remember a big moment for me, a huge moment for me that summer of '97 was when I was on a float, the Hot 97 float in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, right? I'm going to tell you why it was a big moment for me. First of all, it was huge because we were the ones on the Hot 97 float, and if you know the Puerto Rican Day Parade, it's like the biggest parade in New York next to the Labor Day joint that they do for all the West Indians and all that, and the Jamaicans. Everybody goes, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, everybody goes to that parade. But going up Fifth Avenue with over 1 million people there, lined up on both sides of the street from like 40-something street to 80-something street, like 40-something blocks. And we had to perform pronto. We were performing pronto all the way up. So it would loop. But my memory of that, why it was one of the greatest moments, is because my favorite, KRS-One, was standing right next to me on the float, and that's when his joint Step Into a World was out. Remember that joint?
Oh yeah.
So he was doing that, and when he was done, we did Pronto. Then he would do that, and we would do Pronto. Bang, 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 all the way up Fifth Avenue. That was like the moment, my hip-hop moment right there, because KRS was my guy. When I was doing the graffiti as a youngster coming up in the 80s, he was my guy because he repped the Bronx hard, South Bronx. That's where I'm from. So, and he was dope. He was just official. Everybody knows KRS-One is one of the greatest to ever do it. So me standing next to the guy who's my icon, the guy I look up to, that was surreal. That was crazy.
Right.
I remember that in that summer.
When you guys drop Bubbling, what kind of momentum are you seeing the album take at this point?
Well, Just Another Case hit very good. I'll be honest with you, we had a conflict with the label because we felt Pronto should have been a single as well. Pronto was getting a lot of love. In the clubs, in the streets, people was loving Pronto. And we loved Pronto. But they said it's too raw. You know, the chorus in there is a little, you know how the chorus goes. So, but we had a clean version that was dope. Like every curse word in the chorus, we substituted with the word crew, but it was said in a weird way. And it was on beat. If you listen to it, it was dope. And we was like, yo, I'm telling you, it's dope. And we wanted to make it a single. They wouldn't do it. They didn't want to do it. So to be honest with you, okay, we had Just Another Case. All right. We really wanted Pronto to be the first single and then come with Just Another Case. But they didn't want to do it, but for whatever reason. Then with Bubbling, we were already, you know, we were getting a lot of love. You know what I mean? Bubbling came. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be real honest with you, totally honest. I didn't gravitate to Bubbling like that.
Okay.
I didn't want that to be the next single. Yogi loved the record. He wanted it to be the next single, which is cool. People don't have to agree. You know what I mean? You're not going to agree on everything. That's life.
Right.
But he wanted it, and, you know, the label agreed. So, you know, it was released as a single. Fine. But me, just to, you know, be open and honest, I really didn't want that, you know, to be the next single, personally. You know what I mean? But, you know, it was cool. You know what I mean? I think we could have went with maybe something else that might have hit a little better, but it's all good.
Was Up North Trips, Up North an official single, or was it just two singles from the album?
No, it wasn't an official single. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Two singles from the album was Just Another Case and Bubbling, which also came with videos. You know what I mean? We did videos for those two.
Right.
Those are two major singles. Other ones released were like, you know, they wasn't official singles.
So do you think Def Jam did everything they could to support the album, or do you think their support was lacking for this project?
And
why only two singles? Why only two singles?
I don't think they did everything they could, which is also, no, not at all. You know what I mean? And like I was going to harp on that too. The fact that we only had two singles kind of shows it. I mean, you got a new group, right? You got to break them. Like, you got to break artists. I'm sorry, you got to break artists. That's a lost art. You know, back in the days, Berry Gordy and them, they would really push and break these artists and be involved, you know, heavy. If you know, you need that with new artists. Not every new artist is just going to come and pop. You know what I mean? You got to work sometimes. So I didn't feel they put the work in. I felt we could have had a third single, definitely. We should have put another single out. Something. We had a lot of hot rocks on that album. Pick anyone. We could have ran with it. But they didn't do it. You know what I mean? They, for whatever reason, they didn't do it, and I felt they fell short. They fell short. Yeah, I feel they fell short.
Right.